Hello and welcome to May the Review Be With You with Nick and Joe. I'm Joe.
And I'm Nick, and today we are talking about The Mandalorian and Grogu, the newest installment in the Star Wars film franchise, if you will. Mandalorian and Grogu, obviously we've had 3 seasons on Disney+. Instead of a 4th season, the studio decided, let's just make it a movie. And so here we are, just coming off of the premiere week, if you will. So, Joe, thoughts, concerns?
I I don't really have any concerns. This was
Great.
a delightful little time. If anything, it almost feels too under ambitious, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't know. I sure there are things that I could probably point out in the film that like don't work very well, or maybe some like some things that like just don't add up as to how certain characters know certain things. But like overall, it works fine, and it just kind of felt like we were watching one really long episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Definitely felt like a longer, just like TV episode, but still very fun. I still got the Star Wars feel. The cinematography was awesome.
Oh
I
yeah,
definitely felt like I was in the Star Wars universe. A little bit of nostalgia. I don't think the movie overstayed its welcome either, right? The runtime, like basically
no,
2 hours, very, very
yeah,
reasonable. Very, maybe the Star Wars movie we need right now because we haven't really had one in a while.
yeah,
And
like a low stakes Star Wars film.
low stakes Star Wars film that's fun with characters we already know, and to kind of maybe get slightly like that spark again for films. Um, like Andor, obviously TV series and storytelling wise is really awesome and probably the best thing they've done in a while. This was just
Yes.
fun and story was fine, nothing crazy. I didn't have any like huge glaring issues, right? And so, yeah. But before we really get into the plot and all of these things, there is something that Joe needs to do for us since it's his turn on this podcast. We take
Yeah,
turns doing a
yeah.
15-second summary, and Joe has the luck here today to be able to summarize this
Hmm.
film in 15 seconds
Oh
for us.
yes,
So before he gets any
much luck.
time to gather his bearings, I'm going to do the countdown here. So Joe has 15 seconds to review The Mandalorian and Grogu. 3, 2, 1, go.
Mando and Grogu are doing freelance work for the Republic. They end up doing a job in coordination with the Hutts to go get their cousin, I believe. And he's been kidnapped, but it turns out he's not been kidnapped. The Hutts want to kill him, so Mando and Grogu try to help him, and then they do, and everyone lives happily ever after except for the Hutts.
I don't think you finished the plot, or you
I
didn't.
did. It said they killed the Hutts. Everyone lived happily ever after.
That was after the buzzer. Uh,
No, well, maybe the kill the Hutts part.
so B plus, B plus, B
It's an
plus.
A minus. I got through the whole plot.
You did not give us the finale, and in a summary, it's very important that you
All
finish.
right, what would you say? What would you say the finale is if it's not they lived happily ever after?
No, no, well, you just didn't get. You told us everything, but not before the buzzer.
This feels like you're being overly nuanced, but all right.
Honestly, that was a pretty good summary. Uh, but it's a B minus.
You're just salty. I gave you a D on that last one.
I don't even remember, but this is where we're at.
It's because it's a terrible summary.
So, hit us with the long form.
Okay, all right. Let's go back and forth on this one. So, like, I thought the construction of this narrative was really interesting because, like, overall, there's no big goal of the film. You
Yes.
feel me? Like, there's no big
Yes.
goal of what we're trying to achieve. It's just Grogu and, like, Mando just kind of, like, living their life in the Star Wars universe, and, like, shenanigans will ensue. And, like, I kind of dig that a little bit, like, it's funny to have, like, a low-stakes Star Wars film because, like, when's the last time we did? Solo? But, like, even that's, like, not, like, crazy low stakes.
Right.
Um, really, at the end of the day, like the biggest stake is, can these two characters continue to survive in this like very hard life that they've chosen, right? To continue to be freelancers for the Republic. Yeah, we get this really cool action sequence in a ice planet. One thing I love about Star Wars is that it never overly complicates the planets that they're on. Whatever you see in the geography of one planet, that's the whole planet. You know,
Yeah.
it's just one big ice planet. That's fine. Um, so yeah, we get this cool action sequence. Mando's hunting down Empire, members of the Empire, of the Shattered Empire, really, that we know are still alive because of well, Star Wars, so obviously they're still alive. But we know they're still alive because of the Mando show and the Shadow Council. Uh, and yeah, we get back to the planet after he's completed the mission. Messy, apparently.
Yeah.
And we get to meet Sigourney Weaver, who's taken on a character in the Republic. I guess it's cleaning up. Like her job is to clean up the shattered remains of the Empire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially just sending different bounty hunters to, like, collect, dead or alive, these remnants of the Empire and commanders essentially that are like still around, right? And this kind of brings us to what would be the plot of the film, right? Or like the bigger overarching goal, which is to identify who Coin is. I forget his complete title, but there is one member who they have not even been able to identify from the fallen empire. And yeah, for all intents and purposes, his name is Coin. And so the Mandalorian and Grogu are tasked with finding out the identity of Coin. In order to do that, the New Republic has made a deal with the Hutts, who are running this criminal organization, and the Hutts are they want their cousin back, who has fled essentially and is missing, and
Or
they
no,
want to
they
bring.
tell him they tell him that he's been kidnapped.
That's it. Yeah. So they say that he's been kidnapped, and in order for them to give the New Republic the identity of this Coin character, Mandalorian has to go and find their cousin Rada the Hutt. Um, and that's kind of where the main plot of the film picks up, right? Mando goes to the Hutts, gets the information about where to find Rada, and then goes to this planet, Ardinian, I believe is what it's called. And
Memory.
and and yeah, that's where we kind of kick off.
Yeah, everything that I said was basically prologue. At this point, this is kind of where the movie starts.
Yeah,
And what I do enjoy about this, Nick, is how segmented this film is, like very clearly segmented. And that's why I said like it kind of feels like this belongs in the show because it feels like we were watching like different episodes that were just kind of being stitched together.
right.
The way that like TV plots kind of inform like the
Yeah.
next episode, and then this happens, you know?
Well,
Um,
that makes sense too because originally it was going to be a fourth season, right? So I think a lot of this was
mm,
like had already been written, and
I actually
then
didn't
they
know
just
that there was originally intended to be a fourth season.
yeah, originally supposed to be a fourth season. So then Disney shifted gears and decided that like they wanted to make it a film instead.
Hmm,
And so I think that's part of the reason it feels this way, right? Like a lot of this was supposed to be a show, and so they were like, no, you know what? Let's
I
make
can
it a
see it.
film. And it's cool. I think it works as a film. It's fun. It's not, again, it's not your traditional high stakes Star Wars film, maybe, right? So something a little bit more lighthearted.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and Mando goes. They meet, and Ardinian is really cool because they meet a couple of really fun characters that I think are awesome
Yeah,
introductions into the Star Wars universe.
yeah.
Um,
The freaking the food vendor salesman who's played by Martin Scorsese.
Hugo is the vendor's name. Yeah,
Hugo. Yeah,
Martin
that's
Scorsese.
wild.
So, dude, when the film opens and they roll credits right at the beginning with everyone's names, and then Martin Scorsese pops up and it's not in the director area, I was like, "Who the fuck is Martin Scorsese playing?"
I had the same thought. I was so surprised.
And then I was like, and then because his face isn't in the movie, I completely like missed who he was because I didn't recognize the voice when Hugo came on screen. And when afterwards I looked it up, I was like, "This is all like Hugo's one of my favorite characters of the film." Um, I love characters like that. They're like, they help move the plot a little bit because they have special information, and they're just fun, and uh, yeah, what a great like couple scenes we got with him, and it's one of those characters where I feel like Star Wars fans fall in love with that character right away, and at some point in the future would be cool if we see him again.
Well, I mean, he's also like a really practical person, right? He's
Right.
like, oh, I don't want any part of this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a dad just trying to feed my kids. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, that's relatable. I get it. I wouldn't want to be part of this either.
Yeah. It's like, get out of here. Um, but the other thing that's cool is on this planet, we also get to meet Rada the Hutt, who is the son of Jabba the Hutt. Son? Yeah.
Son of Jabba.
Son of Jabba the Hutt, who obviously we all know who Jabba the Hutt is. Um, the funny part here, though, is that he is not a overweight slob. He is a absolute yoked gladiator.
Bro has not missed upper body day ever.
He is absolutely yoked. He's got abs. Who knew anyone in the Hutt clan could have an ab? It's let alone
An
7 or
ab.
8.
You who could have an ab?
He's got
The
like
dude is just one muscle.
he's got like yeah, he basically is just one giant ab. Like he's absolutely ripped. And he's an excellent fighter. And I thought that was really cool, like change up to that particular family, right?
Yeah,
And
it was cool.
we learned that he just does not want to be like his father. He doesn't want to be a criminal overlord, and he essentially is like fighting for his freedom. Has one more fight left on his contract. Before we get into that, the other thing that happens at the beginning of the film with the title cards is we see Jeremy Allen White's name,
Yeah, right.
and I was like, "This is great! Jeremy Allen White's in this. This is awesome." You don't see Jeremy Allen White at all because he is playing Rada the Hutt. So very cool.
He actually plays two characters in this movie.
Who else?
We'll get to the second one later.
Oh, interesting. All right.
It's a very small role that he has later, and I kind of wish that they had expanded a lot more on this character.
Oh man. Okay, cool. Well, I don't know this, so this is gonna be fun for later. But yeah. So Rada the Hutt has one fight left in his contract. Mando meets him. Mando thinks there's something sketchy going on. And yeah, he goes and meets with the, I guess, kind of like the governor of this city or this world, to try to like buy out Rada the Hutt from his last fight. And this is when we find out that the governor here, I forget his name, he ends up being the Empire coin guy that we're looking for, but he has a different name in this instance. But yeah, he has no intent to let Rada out of his contract, and he intends to just like keep throwing fighters at him until he dies to make a bunch of money.
That's play.
Yeah. Um,
So I do want to bring this up now, rather than later, because I feel like anyone who is a Star Wars fan, and we haven't addressed this yet, may have already been like, oh, they don't know. So something I really enjoy about the Hutt plot line here is this is the first time we've met these characters on the silver screen, right? And well, I guess that's not technically true. In live action, it's the first time we've met them in live action, but we've actually met them before, which is a really cool throwback to Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I believe it's not the show. I believe it's the movie, which kicked off the show. Which is why I say, I guess this is the second time we've seen this on the silver screen because that movie actually did premiere in theaters, like way long ago. And Rada actually says, like, he actually refers to it. He was like, yeah, I was kidnapped as a baby. And like, it's funny, it didn't click until he said that for me. I was like, oh my God, that's right. Like during like the time of like Anakin and Ahsoka, we saw that happen. We saw this Hutt baby get kidnapped. And we saw the twins the first time. I believe the twins were behind it. I don't really remember the plot of this, but like I know the twins are involved and like they were the evil ones. And Rada, who's referred to as Stinky by Ahsoka, the whole like plot becomes like try to rescue Rada, or Stinky rather. Uh, so it's neat that we get to actually see this plot line actually like come full circle and follow through with like him as an adult and like the twins and them still trying to like connive and kill him. I once I like made that connection, I was like, that's so cool that they like returned back to that well to like complete this history of this like of the legacy here in Star Wars and like the Hutt drama. So I really applaud them for like taking like colors that had already been like put on like the palette and remembering to use them, right? Well, that was really neat, especially as you said, uh, giving us kind of a different iteration of a Hutt. Rada is a very instantly very rememberable character.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously one that is really part of the good side, right? And so
Yeah, he's got a good heart. He's a good dude.
is another one of those characters. I'd say him, Rada, and Hugo are probably two characters that we've been introduced to now that I would love to see again. Um, Obviously, I feel like Rada is probably the more likely at some point, right? Because he's kind of joined the New Republic now, and um, there's probably some more opportunity where like he can come up, right? Whereas it feels like Hugo's probably just going to always be on the Ardinian planet, and I don't know if Star Wars is ever going to have a reason to go back there. But yeah, so really cool to get some of those characters, and um, obviously the relationship between Mando and Grogu is a huge deal throughout this movie, but obviously the franchise in general. Um, I know in season was it season 3 he officially adopts Grogu, right? So he's like officially the father, which is awesome. And
If I were to pick like a theme for this movie that like, and this is probably the biggest critique I can make on this film. It feels like this film was supposed to be more about that, about like the ongoing developing parental relationship between, Mando, Din Djarin, right? And Grogu. Which like I think there are parts of it there. And it, certain lines definitely evoke it. Um, but overall, I'm not sure if I like see it a whole lot. I don't know. Maybe you disagree.
no, I mean I get it. Like it's not like overly done, and so in many ways they're not like really father and son. They're also just like teammates, right? And like
See, I get that way more. I get
yeah,
that they're teammates way more, and he's like trying to like help Grogu become like,
it's yeah,
more of a
it's more like
warrior
Jedi Padawan vibes than it is
than father and son.
father and
Yeah.
son at many points. Uh, I thought it was cool that we got to see Grogu like do everything possible to try to save him towards the end there.
That whole we'll get to that segment. That whole segment is
Yeah,
so funny and it just adorable and great.
yeah, and the Grogu character is really fun, right? And like, uh, we don't get like it's such a big lift in many ways to do a character like that, right? Because like it's full on animatronics, puppetry, and some like augmented visual effects. So and then you have to like do that for the whole film, not just pieces, right? Pretty much the whole film, and then you've also as an actor have to like interact properly, right? And now, granted, Mando's got a helmet on for most of the film, right? So that I think helps with kind of like you're really just acting with body language, and then obviously Grogu's going to have some animatronicness to him as far as some expressions and things like that. But um, really, honestly, it's kind of impressive and something that like obviously Star Wars is known for, and really Star Wars does it better than anyone. So um, very cool.
I will say, like, I kind of wish we had seen a bit more of. I think we get like maybe Grogu, as you said, like this is hard to pull off, especially for a puppet that does not talk, really. I think we get him being a son and loving a father. Um, I don't think I necessarily get like in this movie. I think I've seen it better in other seasons of Mando. I don't think I necessarily get Mando seeing him as a son. Definitely someone he cares about, but I don't get the son aspect there. Um, but maybe I'm missing something.
Well, and to that point, like I think the reason for that is because Mando's the one who gets captured. So
Mm.
then Grogu's got more of the arc of, oh, my father's been taken, I have to save him or go get him. Whereas Grogu doesn't really go missing during this, right? He's always kind of the one doing the searching, at least in the back half of the film. So maybe that's part of the
Yeah,
reason you feel that way.
it definitely is because
Yeah.
like I would say like one time that I immediately think of where like they had an opportunity to really capitalize on that is toward the end, where the Hutts threaten Grogu, right? They tell Din like, hey, you know, like imagine like your green boy, like
Right.
imagine like we take him and kill him, whatever it is, whatever the threat was, right? Like didn't I think like rarely do we see him get like emotional, like actually like lose his composure. I think this actually would have been a great film to have seen that happen.
Right.
For him to like actually like as like his like kind of like a return to or an Empire moment when Vader's like baiting, or is it Empire? No, sorry, Return of the Jedi, when Vader and the Emperor are baiting Luke, and then Luke like loses it. Like
Yeah.
there's so many awesome moments in this film that are evocative of Return of the Jedi, and that could have been another really cool callback,
Yeah.
evocative of that film. But coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah, that's a great call out. When they said that, and the Hutt said that, I was like, oh, is he like gonna lose his shit? And he doesn't. And I'm like, is it just because he's supposed to be calm and cool at all times as like a Mandalorian? But like they've established enough of a relationship that's also very different from most Mandalorians and having
Mhm.
like a son. So they could have definitely gone there and they did not for whatever reason. But yeah, it's a good call out. I had the same thought like in the moment, and then it kind of just disappears because nothing
Yeah, it
happens.
fizzles. It
Right.
fizzles fast. Yeah. Which then we immediately go into a Return of the Jedi moment, but a different one. But anywho, I've way jumped the gun here, because we were talking about Rada.
Yeah.
And as you had pointed out, he was one fight away from having his contract completed. They get this great conversation between Mando, Grogu, and Rada in the gladiator cells, I'm going to call them. And this is where we find out Rada's a pretty chill dude. He gets an instant relationship with Grogu for feeding him. Grogu's a lot like Monkey D. Luffy. If you feed him, he's like instantly like, I love this guy. This guy rules. Like instant trust.
You heard it here first, guys. Monkey D. Luffy, Grogu, very similar characters.
But they'd probably get along great. They'd probably really dig each other. They have similar vibes.
Would Grogu be a member of the Straw Hat crew? I wonder.
Oh,
Hmm.
they would lay their lives down for him. Like instantly. He'd be Chopper number two.
Listen,
Um,
there's only room for one Chopper S character on the Straw Hat crew. Okay, so let's move on.
Yeah, so we move on to, is it Janu? Is that the character who okay, cool. So they meet Janu, who had the contract. Janu's a pretty shady guy. This is where we find out this is the well, I know, I've jumped the gun again. Because Rada tells us that he doesn't want to go with Mando. He doesn't want to be free. He's about to be free, and he's like, "Hey, my aunt and uncle, they're trying to kill me. Like they're trying to kill me because they think that like I'm gonna become like the new heir to the Hutt throne, and like I don't want anything to do with that. I want nothing to do with my dad. I love the fact that people see me differently than him. Cool character arc.
Yep.
Like this guy instantly. Um, Mando is like, all right, sorry you feel that way, bro. I got a job to do.
Right.
Which is how we get to Johnny, right? Johnny's pretty shady. This is when we find out that this is our act of betrayal, where he's actually staging the last fight. So Rada is going to die in an endless onslaught, which, not gonna lie, sounds pretty cool. Sounds like awesome entertainment. Too bad I like this guy. Um, so this becomes a mission of Mando's gonna bust Rada out. Rada doesn't buy what Mando tells him, and this gets Mando caught, and now he is one of the gladiators that must fight Rada in the Colosseum.
Yeah. And obviously from here, a big fight ensues. Just like Jono had said previously to Mando, there are a ton of other creatures and fighters that are being brought in the ring. Go ahead.
I need to jump in here. This is I have two things about this film that I love. I love so much. The first thing is the amount of monsters
Oh
we
my god,
have in this film.
so many,
So many monsters.
so
And
many
like for
monsters.
me, like this felt like old Star Wars all of the sudden,
Yeah,
like because I instantly think of like A New Hope. I think of a Return of the Jedi, right? Where we meet all these like strange and weird looking creatures. I think of like Attack of the Clones, right? Where they're in the Coliseum pits, right? Where they're in the slave pits, where they're meeting all these monsters, right? Um, and that's so imaginative and fun and
yeah,
awesome, and they're so gross looking. Some of them
yeah,
are so cool looking.
yeah,
I love that. I love like how big the galaxy feels when they do stuff like that.
yeah. It great call out, insane, and it just super well done. Yeah, those are great callbacks too, right, to some OG Star Wars stuff. Uh,
Hmm.
and yeah, so they're fighting, and then eventually, like, there's this like barrier around this Coliseum to protect all the spectators that gets like shattered, and then from there, all hell breaks loose, and basically all the monsters get free and start just killing the people who are watching. Absolute nightmare scenario if you are like running this gladiator ring, like
Right, right, right. It is very clear that Janu's organization does not have an agent for quality control. Like,
right.
no one is in quality control because, like, someone could have flagged the electrical monster represents a risk to the electrical barrier.
Yeah, absolute horrendous quality control. But what could you expect from a planet that has salt as a currency? So anyway,
Bro, it looked like good salt. It looked like great salt.
it did look like great salt. Um, so all hell breaks loose. They get free, and rather than like Rada still obviously does not want to go with Mando, even after knowing that
That's right, he betrays him, yeah.
he was set up.
Yeah.
So Mando and Grogu end up having to like capture him, right, and get him out of there. And
In a chase scene that feels very reminiscent to Attack of the Clones.
yeah, and they get him. They're on Mando's ship heading back to well, they're on the way to the Hutts, right? Because he needs to turn him into the Hutts to find out who the coin guy is. And during this, because these characters have already built a relationship, Mando and Rada are having like a conversation on Mando's ship, right? Rada's also he's not a criminal, so he's not like doing anything sketchy to try to get away while on the ship. Obviously, he really couldn't anyway. Um, but they're having a conversation, and we find out that Rada is claiming that Janu is actually the coin guy that Mando has been looking for, and obviously there's a little bit of um, pause on Mando's part. Like, is he just telling me this, or is he telling me the truth? And I think the movie does a good job establishing like Rada's intent as like a good person, and so we pretty much believe quickly, and so does Mando, that Rada's telling the truth. And it's this moment that you realize, like, okay, the real plot is we're going back to Ardinian to find Janu Coin, and he's like the main guy that we're looking for, right? And so this is where it kind of starts to feel. You start to realize like the state. It's not like a traditional high stakes Star Wars film, right? You're like, oh, we're just gonna go back to get this Janu guy. This is like the main point of the film, kind of. Um, which
Until it isn't, right?
until it isn't, right? Because
Until it isn't.
he gets captured very quickly and easily, pretty much. And so the problem really then stems from the Hutts realizing that Mando has like double crossed them essentially, even though
Mhm.
they're the ones who were doing the double crossing first. So yeah, and then it kind of picks up in this next part where I'll let you take it away. But
Yeah, so mission success. Oh yeah, we haven't really talked about this. And any Star Wars Rebels fans that listen to this, my bad for not bringing this up earlier. Uh, Zeb is acting as a co-pilot for Mando, which I believe this completes all of the Star Wars Rebels Ghost Crew members that have been seen since Star Wars Rebels, with I think most of them appearing in the Ahsoka show. I think the only standout, if I recall, the only standout that we didn't see is Zeb, and here he was, played by Steve Blum once again, which always great to hear Steve Blum's voice. Um, I thought that Zeb was going to have a much bigger role in this movie, other than just being like the co-pilot. But yeah, all right, cool cameo, I guess. Anywho, yeah, Zeb, Mando, and I believe, yeah, Rada's with them. Rada and Grogu, they head back to the Republic, and this is where we get some friction from Sigourney Weaver's character, who's like a little miffed. It's like you kind of skipped the part where you were supposed to bring the nephew back to the Hutts, but good job. um, so Mando decides, hey, I'm gonna take like some time off because like this has been too much, and Sigourney Weaver's like, yeah, you should do that. Um, while I clean up your mess, you should go do that. She's a lot nicer about it. But anyway, that's how it kind of came off to be, where she was just like in PR. She's like, yes, that's a lovely idea. Um, he goes back to his planet with Grogu and Rada. He's organized transport for Rada to be taken to safety away from the Hutts where they're not going to pursue him. Boy, does that backfire fast. And it's not even clear exactly when that backfires.
Right.
Like, was it the pilot on the ship that was compromised? Unclear. The ship is just on the Hutt planet later with no explanation.
Yeah. Well,
um,
that was so left field that when that ship was first seen, I was like, oh, this ship's been here for years.
I
Like,
thought the same thing. I was like, that can't be the same ship. It's been
yeah.
there forever.
And then when Mando comes back to life, basically, he's like, oh, that's the ship that was carrying Rada. I'm like, what?
It's like, seriously? You know what, Nick? Maybe this is Star Wars' first attempt at actual relativity and actual hard science, because like time should work differently depending on where you are in the universe or the galaxy, as it were. It should be a little different rather than being one to one literally everywhere you go. But to my knowledge, that has never been explored before in Star Wars, and it'd be weird
Well,
if it started here.
well, no, I mean, it can be one to one because they have light speed. They travel on light speed. So, like,
That's true. Well, even if you travel in light speed, though, like,
don't do it.
isn't
Don't go. We're not
there's
going
still a
there.
dilation? Like,
We're not going there.
you've seen Interstellar.
Smarter men than us have tried to explain
The
speed of light.
time physics of Star Wars.
We are not
I
gonna.
would love to hear someone actually explain that.
We are not going to attempt that on this podcast.
No, that's way above my pay grade. In any
You're being paid
case,
for this. Anyway,
moving on. So on this planet, we say goodbye to Rada, but we know right away it's like, all right, well, there's still like at least half a movie left. Like, we'll see Rada again at some point in this film. Um, this is the one and only time on this planet that we get to see my favorite ship in all of Star Wars. Like, I thought as a kid, the Naboo fighter was just the peak of starship construction. You know, like the sleekest, coolest ship ever designed in all of science fiction for me is the Naboo fighter. And I didn't think it could be any cooler until Mando got his silver Naboo fighter in the show, and I freaking love that ship so much. I thought it was awesome when he got it. I was so hyped. I was such a fanboy when that happened. Uh, and in this movie, I was a little bummed when he kind of gets like a revamped version of his old original ship, which is cool. Like that's neat. It's a cool return to home for him. And it's for a bounty hunter, it makes more sense that he uses that, right? Um, but then we get to see the ship, and I thought, hey, maybe this will come to be in the third act of the movie. Nope. Nope. The ship is just a cameo appearance, just hiding in the background. Like,
yeah.
cool, fun, I guess.
They did have a cool like scene at the like towards the front end when he first gets it right. But yeah, other than that, very disappointing that we didn't get to see it. We didn't get to see it after it had gotten its like revamp, like made lighter, basically, right?
Right.
Which you thought that's where we were gonna go, right? They're gonna fix the ship. They're gonna make it like an incredible machine that's built for speed, and like we're gonna get to see it maneuver even better. And no, we didn't get that.
So we do get the return of the engineers
Yes.
from the Mandu show,
Yeah.
which like I was there with my partner, and like she loves Grogu, but like I think she forgot about these characters, and like the second they showed up and they called Grogu like horrible baby, like instantly like remembered who they were, and she's like fallen in love with them all over again. like they're such a show like scene stealer every time they're around.
Yeah, they're freaking awesome. Uh, yeah, and where are we at? What's the
We get our confrontation with the bounty hunter that the Hutts do not mess around when it comes to revenge. Like, oh my god, they were so fast at hiring at A, getting Rada themselves, right? And then B, hiring another bounty hunter to go track down the first bounty hunter,
yeah
right? Like it was like the next day. The next day.
right
Maybe not even. It was like that evening.
yeah very quickly Mando gets captured. Rada's already there, and yeah, we get a another kind of callback scene, right? Because Mando ends up going into the pit, basically, at the Hutts.
Yeah, yeah, when he gets kidnapped by the bounty hunter. Yeah, this is the other Return of the Jedi scene that we were talking about.
Yeah, so he gets down to this pit where we get to see yet another insane monster, right? This massive, like, sea snake, whatever you want to call it. Uh, and
They called it they actually had a name for it. It was the dragon snake.
there you go, dragon snake.
Yeah.
And yeah, we get this like insane fight scene that's really more of like Mandel trying to stay alive and then escape, and simultaneously Grogu and the the crew that were going to help fix Mando's ship are they've come back to the planet to try to save him and help him, and they figure out like a way
In
to
the
get
smallest
him out of
ship
there
ever.
in the smallest ship ever. Yeah, and this is the funny part, right? Like I don't like you don't realize when they're traveling how small their ship is until
Oh no, I do.
no, like
Like the second they boarded the ship.
yeah, I was not thinking it. I was just like when Mando gets there, I was like, oh wait. When I was like, he's not going anywhere.
No, no, like I don't understand. Like they're all engineers. They know.
yeah.
Maybe they always knew. They were like, we're just going to get. Oh, that's something else that happened. One of the four engineers was also kidnapped. So like maybe they never had any intention of picking up Mando. They were just like, we're just coming to get our boy, and like Mando can figure it out.
Yeah. And one other thing that's important to mention too is Mando does get like stabbed or bitten by this dragon snake, which we find out
Yeah.
is poisonous. So even though he escapes, he one can't get on the ship that Grogu and the crew came with because it's way too small. So he tells them all to leave. Mando goes back and like fights whoever's chasing after him and then collapses basically, right? Because the poison is starting to take over. Obviously, we find out Grogu stays behind, and then we get this whole sequence of like Grogu trying to like keep keep Mando alive, but without really any
Yeah, he's
tools.
gotta protect Papa.
Yeah, and so um, throughout this like montage, really, right? Because it's like over days, weeks, maybe even that Grogu is like fending for himself and Mando in the forest of the Hutt planet. He comes across a fisherman who lives in near this pond uh, in the forest, seemingly by himself, away from the Hutt Empire. Um, and he starts kind of stealing food from him. And then the fisherman, you know, catches him basically, and they kind of have this like conversation. We find out the fisherman's not like the Hutt and the Hutts and like the rest of these people, right? He's kind of just very stoic, like living by himself, enjoying the quiet, and much more of a reasonable human being. And he gives Grogu this uh, paste or medicine, and tells him to give it to his father, although it might be too late. Um,
I just want to bring this up. So you brought up Hugo earlier as like one of the characters, one of the side characters that like instantly interested you. Um, this character instantly interested me to the point where like I needed to go look up like what this character's name was, Gatori. Um, I thought that this character was like so fascinating as just being like just this random guy in the swamp, just like hanging out, just like on the outskirts of like the Hutt territory, right? And like he's totally aware of what they do. They're probably aware of him. They seem to be. At least the bounty hunter is, right? And like they don't really mess with him because like whatever, doesn't matter to them. And like he's just like that wise old figure hanging out in the swamp. And for me, this felt like such a missed opportunity to do some like either some very powerful referencing um to Empire when Luke first meets Yoda, right? Like kind of like a reverse of that, right? Where we have Grogu, a member of that same species, obviously, in need of help and some wisdom, and we meet this guy, right? And as far as like references go, I think that's like as far as you can really take it, right? Um, but man, I really wish that they could have done more with it. Or like we could have gotten something more out of Gattori rather than just being like, hey, remember that scene where your dad got poisoned? Here's the antidote. Like,
Right. Yeah.
like that's almost all we get out of it. I would have loved something a bit more emotional to accompany that rather than just being like, here's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a product too of it. Originally, probably supposed to be a TV series, right? Like that's much more of a
Absolutely.
TV series situation.
Absolutely.
But I will say that, like,
That's its own episode, right? Like,
yeah,
hey, these are the ingredients you got to go. Like he puts them on a quest to go find the ingredients
right.
for the antidote, right?
But then, like, we get into a like, but if you do that in the movie, we get into a problem of runtime, right? And like, I think what the movie does well is doesn't overstay its welcome as far as the length goes. And so they took, they had to cut things, from whatever they had written, I'm sure TV wise, right? And they had to make sure it was condensed enough and still flowed. And I'm
Yeah,
okay with them not doing more because, like we said, this is really a low stakes movie overall from a plot perspective. And
I agree. I agree. Here's where it's like a give and take for me, right? The I think you could have condensed the Grogu and the engineers breakout scene in exchange for something more emotional, rather with it whether it's with Grogu here, right? Or maybe it's Din later, right? But like I just never feel like either of these characters really gets like an emotional payoff anywhere. And I think that's kind of like I think you can do a low stakes film, right? Like this and still have an emotional payoff, an emotional character journey
yeah,
for one of them, and like neither of them really gets there. So like I kind of wish like some scenes had been condensed in exchange for that, you know?
yeah. Well, the problem there though is that like Mando is traditionally like a not an emotional character, and so
Right, but if there was a time, if
well,
there was a
sure,
time, it's when a Hutt gangster threatens your lovely son, right?
yeah, but I mean that's the point though, right? Like that also didn't make him emotional. So I think really maybe then the writers are really establishing that like this is not the character you're going to get it from. Maybe that's them telling us
Oh,
like,
I I think I agree with you. Do I think that that's interesting? No, I don't think that's interesting. We've seen 3 seasons of that already, right?
hey, again, it goes back to the whole movie doesn't overstay its welcome. Low stakes, fun Star Wars film. Probably the Star Wars film we need right now so that we're not like disappointed in what they do. You know? Um,
I'm not disappointed. Like it's a fun movie. It's super fun. I I don't know.
no,
I
I'm
just
saying
think
like
like
if it
if
was like a more high stakes film that
yeah,
tried to be too big, maybe it would have led to everyone being disappointed. We haven't had a Star Wars film in a while, so let's give us something light
sure.
and fun that we can just like ease back into like whatever the next rotation is going to be for films in this universe. That's my thought.
You know what it is? You know what it is for me? It's it's the fact that like we've had 3 seasons of these characters already, right? And if you're gonna market a story into the theater, I think that in and of itself, right, kind of gives you the idea this is going to be something bigger than what we've seen. And I think like if you don't want the stakes to be save the world, save the galaxy, right? Like whatever, right? Fight the empire. I think that's fine. You don't have to do that, right? But then you do have to have that big payoff somewhere that differentiates this from like what we've seen already in seasons 1 through 3. And for me personally, and I'm sure, like, I mean, that's kind of the beauty and the horror of Star Wars fans, right? There are so many different kinds of us. For me personally, I would have loved to have seen some kind of like big emotional character journey, kind of maybe a little bit bigger than what we saw in the end of season 2 with like the Luke Skywalker moment,
Yeah.
where they're saying goodbye to each other. That's devastating, like, and that was on the TV show. Um, and I'm not saying do that again, but like give us something emotional to hang on to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they did.
They didn't. They didn't. It's just a fun Star Wars time, and I will give it that. It is fun. It's a fun Star Wars time.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, one other thing I want to mention, we can go back to some of the actual plot points or the ending if you want, but really quick. Another thing that I really did enjoy was the score, right? The composition of the film.
Remember I said that there were 2 things I loved about this movie?
Yeah.
This is number 2. Oh my god.
Yeah. Score is awesome. Ludwig
Amazing.
Göransson does the score. He's done, I mean, everyone will recognize him. He's done a number of other things. First 2 Mando seasons, helped with the third. Creed, Black Panther, Sinners, Tenet, Oppenheimer, and upcoming, he's done the composition for the Odyssey. So that's really cool.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, and he had such like it's just so well done. The different themes.
There were so many sequences that like I think for a lot of films, not Ludwig's films for the record, a lot of films that he's not part of, I think a lot of times I kind of sleep on the score. Dude, this score like gets in your brain and just starts rattling around. And it is so the scene where the engineers and Grogu are doing the breakout from the sewer, and you get the OG Mando theme, but like it's mixed with like these drums that are going like nuts in the sewer. Like that was so cool.
Yeah.
I loved this score.
He did a great job with like sticking with the themes of characters, but then like really changing and adding some flair depending on what the scene was going on, right? To your point. So freaking cool. Like might actually have to buy the soundtrack on vinyl.
I said the same thing. I said that's how much I loved it.
I don't do many soundtracks on vinyl.
I never say that.
I know. I don't do many soundtracks on vinyl, but it's really that good. So that might have to happen. But yeah, that's really the last thing I wanted to mention for the film as a whole. We don't have to go too deep into like the extreme ending parts if we don't want to, but
just the climax is just we face off with the Hutts and their bounty hunter. We get to see Rada be an absolute unit and just taking on both his aunt and his uncle, just beating the heck out of him.
Yeah.
And then a very satisfying death, actually weirdly satisfying death for both of them.
Yeah.
As they are terrified of their dragon snake.
Yep. A dead Hutt is a good Hutt, unless his name is Rada. That's what I always say.
That's what... Yes, I believe I have heard you say that many a times on this Star Wars podcast. Star Wars adjacent podcast.
Yeah, that's better. Star Wars adjacent is the right word. Awesome.
Oh, man.
Scores. You want to do a score? You want to score it?
Yeah. So I believe we do movies out of 5, right? Okay, cool. I think like a 3.5 or 3.7.
Yeah,
not anything crazy, but it's not bad. It doesn't offend. You know, it's good. It's a good time. It's a good time. I don't regret it.
I agree with you. Like 3.7 is great. You know, it's definitely worth watching again, but like it's probably not something I'm going to be jumping at the bit to watch again.
It has some issues, but honestly, the issues aren't really worth thinking about. It's you know what it is at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it is a Saturday morning cartoon, and it's a good time. And that's it.
And we will leave it at that, my friends. If you like this episode, please throw us a like, hit that subscribe button, let us know in the comments what you think about The Mandalorian and Grogu. Looking ahead, we are gearing up for Nolan Fest and the Odyssey. These are the next big release this year is the Odyssey. We're going to do some Nolan movie reviews in between and talk about some other Christopher Nolan movies and stories. So keep an eye on us for that. And until next time, friends.
May the review be with you.
Peace.